Well, aloha and welcome. Today's class will be working to integrate the limbs into the core so we can really have this deeper experience of wholeness in the body, which will help us experience that wholeness of the big S self. And we'll start with watching our breath, and we'll get to do it laying down. So turn to your left so you're facing where you set up your strap, and extend your legs and slowly make your way down onto your mat. And just do a little test. Reach your right arm towards the screen. Or I should say, reach your right arm out and it should face the screen. And that means we set up okay. And then let your arms be wherever's comfortable. You might even walk the shoulders a little bit down the back. Create some space between the feet so the low back can relax. And just start to observe your natural breath. And maybe at first you notice it the most coming in and leaving through the nose. And see if you can follow it into the body. Noticing how the body cavity expands to receive the breath. Then keep your focus on that gentle, sinking, relaxing sensation that occurs as you exhale. As you observe the breath and become more aware of the feelings in your body, aloha, Octavia, welcome. You might notice other sensations. If you feel tightness somewhere, give yourself the freedom to adjust and move. If the low back feels tight, you can bend knees, place soles of feet wide, and just knock the knees in for a little back release. And keep observing the breath and inviting more and more information to be received. And then use that information to create space and ease in the body. As you continue to breathe in this relaxing position, notice if it's comfortable to gently slow down the breath. Not with force, almost by relaxing more. And start to notice the space between inhale and exhale, exhale and inhale. You don't have to hold the breath, but just notice that sense of natural pause, natural stillness and spaciousness. We'll continue to observe the breath for just one more minute. And just see if you can slow the exhale and really sink into that pause after the exhale. Letting yourself relax really deeply. become even more present into the body. And we'll use this new awareness and receptivity to notice sensation now in the body. So extend the legs if you've bent them. And if you're following along with our music today, you can hit play on the first track and then just make sure to loop it because I'll tell you when to go to the next track. Let the toes fall out wide and then start to point the feet and then flex the toes towards the shin and let the toes fall out wide again. So we're making some circles with the toes. Keep the heels on the ground. Allow the circles to be as small as is comfortable. And then start to notice the sensation in the body. It might be easiest to first notice the heels and the low back, gently massaging into the ground. And then maybe you can even sense that external rotation of the legs that happens as the toes fall out to the side. You don't need to change anything. Just see if you can be aware of how the direction of your feet relates to the shin, the knees, and the femur in the hip socket. Go the opposite direction. If you're ever having trouble noticing and feeling, try slowing down. In fact, I just slowed down when I said that, and I was like, oh, this is so much better. So let's all slow down. Almost gives our movement a massage-like quality. I know some people joined in late, so it might take you a second to find your strap or scarf combo, but for those of you that have it set up, you can just grab the edges of your strap, allowing the bottom of the middle of the strap to slide up the feet. And try to bring the strap all the way up to the space where the toes meet the ball of the foot. There's a nice little shelf there, and you can even gently push into that shelf. It's as if you're wearing high heels, and this helps activate the arch of the foot all the way up into the core. So just gently push the balls of the feet into the strap a couple of times, and notice what activates gently on the legs. We're going for a sense of evenness. And then you may notice sensation in the shoulders. Give yourself permission to allow the shoulders to walk down the back, maybe holding a little lower on the strap. And just flex and floint the feet a couple of times so you can really feel this sense of the limbs integrating into the core. And it's really subtle and really gentle. We're not doing intense work. The next time the balls of the feet press forward into the strap, pause there for a breath and just observe that sensation. And then sneak your left foot out of the strap. So the strap is only on the right foot. Aloha, Misato-san. Welcome. And slowly use the strap to lift the right leg towards the sky. And we're going to be rotating the leg, and it's a little tricky at first, so be really patient. Bend the right knee generously, so there's no resistance in the leg. Just let it melt into the body. And then gently start to point the knee, the right knee, off to the right side, so the hip externally rotates. And then gently start to press the ball of the foot into the strap and notice what happens to the leg. You don't have to orient it, but you might find that it just goes right back to neutral. And then let's repeat that. So bend the knee, let the knee fall off to the side, external rotation, and then press the ball of the foot into the strap and notice how the whole leg lengthens. And repeat this several times on your own. And if you start to get the hang of it, see if you can smooth out the motion as if your leg were an octopus tentacle. Just fluidly moving effortlessly and beautifully and gracefully in the ocean tide. And then I find it harder, but we play with going the opposite direction. So bend the knee into the chest and then let the knee come out to the side and then press into the foot to bring the leg back to neutral. So knee to chest and then open and then extend. And again, we're not trying to get deep hip rotation, rather just trying to allow this to feel really natural and fluid. The next time the ball of the foot extends and presses into the strap, pause there for a moment, kick gently into the strap, and just notice a sense of the muscles in the leg firing, maybe even a sense of spaciousness in the hip socket. And then lift your left leg, stick it into the strap next to your right, and then release the right leg down. And I didn't offer this on the first side, but it might be comfortable to bend the right knee and place the sole of the right foot on the floor so that the left hip has more fluidity. So you're welcome to try that. And we'll do the second side. So allow the knee to bend and fall open to the left. And then kick into the foot, press into the ball of the foot, extending the leg. So bend, let the knee open off to the left, and then extend the leg. And sometimes, depending on what leg you're dominant with, this might feel more challenging or more graceful. And just notice that relationship between the kicking of the foot, the angle of the foot, and just letting the leg follow. Letting the hip socket be really lubricated and flowing. And I find it really interesting, that moment where I press into the mound of the big toe, how the leg just naturally refines that center position, that neutral. So just observe that moment. And then reverse the direction, which I find really hard on my left side. So if it's challenging for you, just be really patient and think of it as awakening new muscles, finding new connections. The next time the left leg extends, lift the right leg, joining the left inside of the cradle of your strap. And just like we played with reclined, pull on the strap and just notice that sense of the legs integrating into the body. So the thigh bones just gently being guided into the hip socket. And then see if you can keep that sense of integration as you allow the strap to slide through the hands so that the legs can slowly extend about halfway to the ground. And you might notice that the core starts to engage a little bit more the further the legs get away from the body. And so let's play with a little bit of rocking here. Bend the knees, and then as you kick the feet into the strap, notice how that pulls the body up slightly. Imagine your body like the bottom of a rocking chair. And let there start to be a tension that's created. And once the momentum happens, you actually don't have to bend your knees anymore unless you like that. But you can stay in a fixed shape, and you might notice the core firing in a more holistic way when you do that. Try to stay relaxed in the neck and shoulders, finding ease in this challenge. And the next time you float up, see if you can pause for a moment. Check in with the hip flexors. If the hip flexors are really dominant here, place the feet down on the ground so that the hip flexors can relax. But if it's comfortable, you can start to kick into one leg and then the other. And allow the rest of the body to respond to that. There's then a natural counterbalance that happens with the body and the core. You can even try leaning back a little bit more. Yeah, nice, Robin. And so that you can really feel that sense of the body and the legs working away from one another. So don't think so much like boat pose. Imagine almost like you're starting to lie down a little bit more. Yeah, good. And then slowly make your way all the way up. Float your feet to the earth and set your strap off to the side. Place your hands on your knees and just allow the torso to drape over the legs so that you can relax completely, because maybe you were working pretty hard there. Maybe, I don't know. And then push down into the feet. And notice how the torso starts to float up with that gentle downward pressure. Place the right hand behind you with the fingertips pointed away and pivot the feet towards the right. Slowly push down into the right foot, hovering the hips, and actually turn your body to the right, allowing the legs to cross. Set the knees down so you're in tabletop with the legs crossed. It'll get easier each time. Yeah. And sometimes this can be intense on the hips, so give yourself permission to point the feet straight back instead of at an angle. And just gently start to wag the tail a little bit. And notice the sense of the thighs and the legs being connected into the pelvis, the low abdominals, the spine, the core. Can almost imagine in this position that you have a mermaid tail, right? The legs are working together. And come to a comfortable center position. If this is ever uncomfortable in your hip sockets, just uncross your legs. We'll do a lot of good work that you'll benefit from regardless of whether your legs are like this or not. Gently start to round the spine like cat pose and send the hips a few inches towards the heels, but don't go for a deep stretch. And then gently push down into the shins, rounding the spine forward, back through cat. And once shoulders make it over the wrist, pull on the mat and just gently reach the heart forward for like a baby cow. Not even really a back bend, almost like a neutral, just edging on back bend. And let's play with those little waves through the spine in our mermaid tabletop pose. Let the hips reach gently towards the heel, rounding, and then push down into the shins, waving forward, and let the spine gently, ever so gently, arch at the end. And just take a few, moving at your own pace. And the next time you come into your cow spine, tuck your toes underneath. I know the legs are still crossed. Hover the knees and gently start to reach the hips up and back for cross-legged down dog. You're welcome to wag your tail a little bit. Keep a deep, deep bend in your knees. And then hug the right knee into the chest. Set the right shin down underneath you and slowly start to walk your hands to the left, pivoting on the knee and the toes, so you have a wide straddle with the left leg. And soften the left leg so it's not an intense groin stretch here. And we're going to play with a similar movement, but now the legs are very different, right? So just notice as you round the tailbone back towards the heel and wave the spine forward into that baby cow, how this sensation is different. And try to avoid too deep of a groin stretch here in that left leg. See if you can soften the left knee and just find a little more evenness and ease. And the next time the hips go towards the heels, tuck the right toes underneath, walk the hands in, look at the left foot, let the left toes turn out generously, and you'll notice you'll have to bend your knee to do that. So yeah, nice, that looks great. And just wag your tail a couple of times. So there's a sense of buoyancy in the pelvis and a gliding of the pelvis from left to right. And the right knee is still down on the ground, Jennifer, just unless that was more comfortable for you, which is absolutely fine. Always modify. The next time the hips come over the right knee, gently push down into the legs and do this in extra slow motion. Allow the spine to stack, but really take your time, as if you were reversing the process of a candle melting, letting the candle go back to its original shape, tall. Gonna let the hands float up and gaze up. And then reverse back down, melting everything towards the floor, gently releasing down, bowing, and then push down to reverse melt all the way up to the top, to neutral or a gentle back bend. That one's up to you. Nice. Great job moving really nice and slow, everybody. The next time you float up, pause there, check in with your left hip. Make any adjustments with the left leg that are really nice and comfortable. So maybe the left foot walks in a little closer, or the toes change angle. So from the top, we're going to explore a little bit, and let's start with really small circles. So allow the spine to gently arc to the left, and then round forward, kind of like where we just were, and then push down to rise through center into that baby back bend, and then to the left and forward and up. And we'll be coming back to this movement later, so let it be really slow and small in this first round, so all the musculature can start to come online to support you as holistically as possible. Nice. The next time you release forward, set your hands down and glide the hips from left to right, just like we did before. And notice this sense of the weight shifting a little more into your left foot as your hips slide to the left. The next time the weight floats over to the left, lift the right foot and step it over to the right so you're in a straddle. And then bend into one knee at a time so that the hips continue to glide, and move really slowly here so you can really feel the shifting weight in the legs, the shifting muscles in the pelvis. And then bring the weight to center so legs are evenly extended. It's okay if they're slightly bent. And push down into the feet, gently allowing the whole body to reverse melt, just like we did before. The hands can float up last into that big bowl. And just pause for a moment Check in with the ankles and the knees and the hips. Feel free to close your stance slightly so that you almost can't feel your joints because they're just so comfortable and supported. And then turn the right toe out to the short edge of the mat and let the left heel come out ever so slightly. We'll just take one moment in Virabhadrasana 2. If you're lucky, you have a baby on your leg giving your thigh a little extra workout here. Thanks, Abigail. You're helping your mommy. And just take one more moment to just feel the equal weight and ease through the legs and pelvis. And then we'll make our way back to the floor to do the second side, and I'll tell you how to get there. Gently start to pivot the body to the right, lifting the left toes, and release the left hand down nice and wide to the left side of your mat. Press into the right foot and the left hand and slowly glide your left foot through that space like threading a needle. And then let the right leg extend. So you're seated. So remember the movement with the strap where you externally rotated the leg one at a time. We're going to do a forward fold and we're going to do both thighs at the same time. So place your hands at either side of your thighs, bend the knees, dragging the heels isometrically towards the body, and just notice a sense of length and ease in the spine as you do that. And then let the knees fall out to the side. And then kick into the legs and allow them to naturally just float back to neutral, just like they did in the strap. So bend knees, drag heels, let the knees fall out, and then kick the legs. Yeah, and so Jennifer, the legs are pretty straight, just like Paschimottanasana, but we're playing with bending the knees and keeping the heels right where they are. And great. Yeah, nice, Masato-san. You can see how the spine starts to follow that movement. And just allow it if you're starting to feel that. So Robin, keep your legs where they are. And then just bend the knees, but keep the heels where they are. Yeah, and then let the knees fall out. And then kick into the legs. Yeah, and try it a few more times, trying to really keep the heels anchored, because that's where the interesting massage starts to happen when the leg muscles fire. Yeah, there you go. Are you starting to get the hang of it, Robin? Yeah, nice. And so the next time you kick into the legs, notice the sense of the core engaging. A little bit extra in that moment. We're going to see if we can ride that momentum all the way down to the mat. So the next time the legs engage the core, see if you can slowly lower with control all the way back to the beginning. And take your time, no rushing in yoga. And when you arrive, just pause and observe the breath. Just like we did at the very beginning. Just fall into that space, and the more you can relax and release right here, the more the body will understand all those weird movements I made you do. And they'll become easier in the next round, more fluid and supported. So just breathe for a moment. We'll just take a couple of circles with the toes, letting them fall out to the side, and then point, and then flex through center. And just notice if it's a little bit easier to be aware of the whole body's reaction. Now that you are more fully awake and aware in the body, maybe you can feel more and notice more. The next time the toes point, feel the heels gently grip into the mat and gently start to drag them in towards the hips. Plant the soles of the feet, and we'll take a moment in Seta Bandha Sarvangasana. So plant the feet evenly on the floor, reach hands towards the heels, and gently press down into the feet to hover the hips any amount. Check in with your knees. If you feel any pressure here, set the spine down, reset, readjust your feet, and try again. And do this as many times as it takes to find a nice supported bridge. And then set one vertebra down at a time. Let the legs float up. We're not going to do the strap thing again, so just gently shake out the legs here, letting any tension, muscular or energetic, whatever it might be, just shake out of the body. And then grab behind the legs. And before we were grabbing a strap, but we're going to use the legs to mimic that same thing. So bend the knees and then spring the legs forward, and notice how it takes your whole body with you. And do a few of those. And again, envision yourself as the bottom of a rocking chair. And if you get the hang of it, you can actually extend the arms overhead to make it a little more challenging, or just keep holding on to the legs. Whatever is most exciting for you. And then let yourself come all the way up. Plant the soles of the feet to the ground and release the spine forward for a moment. Push down into the legs, letting the whole body inflate and expand. Place the left hand behind you, fingertips pointed away. Point the toes to the left and slowly start to turn, lift the hips, plant the hands. So you're in that cross-legged table. Drop the knees and start by adjusting what angle the feet are pointed at so the hip sockets are happy. Ever so gently squeeze the thighs together, and you don't want it to be intense, but just to find a little bit extra support in the hips and adductors. And then press hips gently towards heels, round the spine, and push down into the legs, waving forward. Let your heart peek forward at the end. And just take a few of those waves. Adjust the angle of the legs or even uncross them at any time. You want to keep your hips nice and happy. And maybe there's even a sense of the crossing of the legs helping to support your core and your spine as you explore these spinal waves. And the next time the heart peeks forward in cow pose, tuck toes underneath, hover the knees, and push into the hands to send the hips up and back. Keep a deep bend in the knees. Keep them crossed if it's comfortable. And just wag the tail a couple of times. And then shift the weight, shoulders over wrists. Hug the left knee into the chest and then drop it down. Walk the hands over to the right and let the right toes face forward so you're in that wide Parigasana. And then gently melt hips towards heels and push into the legs to wave the spine forward. So exact same spinal movement here, but different position of the legs. Oh, we've got a kitty joining class. And move really nice and slow so that you can make sure to keep the legs working together. Even though they're uncrossed now, try to find a sense of hugging the legs together so that this position is more about stability rather than hip opening. And the next time you send the hips back, tuck toes underneath, but keep the knees down. Bend the right knee, turn the right toes out generously. Glide the hips a little from side to side to just make sure you feel really nice and supported. It's kind of like a litmus test. And then push down into the legs to slowly reverse melt. And let the head and neck and hands come up last in that little heart opener. And then release down, melting forward, and just play with that motion of sending the pelvis forward to gently stack the spine. Just a couple of times, being aware of the core muscles that fire up, and maybe even being aware of those core muscles integrating all the way down over the hip joint, down into the thighs. And the next time you roll up, let's explore that a little bit. So we'll side bend over to the right And then slowly start to melt forward into that forward fold position, and then push down into the legs to rise up, letting the heart open. And once you've got the hang of those three movements, the back bend, the side bend, and the forward fold, start to think of them as one continuous movement. There's not a beginning, not an end. It's just a fluid, controlled, supported experience through the legs, hips, spine, even the shoulders. And the next time you're forward, plant the hands down and start to bend into the right knee, shifting the weight from side to side. And the next time the weight shifts over into the right foot, hop the left foot up and wide so you're back in that wide straddle. Yeah, see, it was easier the second time. Your body is so smart. It figures it out. Allow the angle of your feet to adjust to whatever's most comfortable on the inner leg line and the pelvis. And then push down into the feet and slowly guide the hips forward, allowing the spine to stack. We'll just pause for a moment at the top, make any adjustments to your posture. And we're going to add on this second round just to make things interesting. It might be helpful to shorten your stance just a little bit so you feel really, really supported, almost like a little more neutral. Yeah, nice. And imagine your body, this raft that's filling with air, and notice a sense of brightness and buoyancy as you fill up and everything just expands. The spine lengthens. There's more space in all the joints. And then imagine the right side is starting to deflate a little bit, and it's very even. So you don't feel it in one place, but just allow that right side to gently melt. Let the right knee bend. Let your body tip over to the right and just releasing down. And then let everything fill back up so there's a sense of everything opening and expanding and puffing back up. And then go through that same experiment on the other side. And repeat this on each side one more time. And as you do this, really try to avoid feeling it too much in one place. And so if you really feel it in one spot, see how your body can relax to support you a little bit more. And it doesn't matter what it looks like. Right? Rather, it's just this evenness. And I lied. I know that's been more than one on each side. But you guys look so beautiful exploring this experimental movement. I don't want to rush it. And so now for real, one more on each side. I think after you go to the left, you should be balanced. And we'll all just meet in that middle buoyant pose where everything is really full and expansive, even and balanced. And we'll turn the left toes out to the short edge of the mat and let the right heel fall out so we can do Virabhadrasana 2 on the second side. And so take a moment to press into the feet, filling everything up, that big, spacious, open posture. And then just gently start to melt in that left knee, just like we did in that last exercise. So instead of trying to open your hip, there's just a sense of the left leg deflating a little bit and supporting you evenly. Pause for a moment. And then press into the ball of the right foot. Start to square the hips to the left side of the mat. Release the right hand down nice and wide. You can even step the left foot over to the left a little bit more. And then slowly drag the right knee in between hand and foot. Kick the right leg through, bringing the right hip down. Nice. And then bring the left leg to meet it and pause for a moment. If you want to go for that octopus forward fold, keep your legs right where they are, but bend the knees so there's a sense of tensioning through the back of the legs, and then the knees fall out and kick. And as the legs start to revolve, just notice how the spine responds to that movement. There is a tensioning and a lengthening, and then a release and a surrender. And start to pay attention to that kicking of the legs and the sense of the low abdominal supporting you and sending you back, and see if you can ride that wave and lean a little further back. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but maybe you feel supported enough to be a little more dramatic. And then eventually just ride that wave all the way down to the ground. And we'll pause on our back. And just soak all of that in. You might notice just a little tingling through the body. Just observe the breath. And let those sensations just come to you. And if you're following along with the music, you can go to the second track now, which is still very chill, but it'll take things up for our second vinyasa. And so we'll start by just gently pressing out through the balls of the feet like we played with before, and push the heels down into the mat, and just notice a sense of what fires up through the back of the body. Doesn't have to be intense. Keep playing with pushing the heels down and releasing so you can feel things fire and then release, fire and then release. And then bend the elbows, bring the arms into the side body and point the fingers up to the ground. And we'll try the same thing with the shoulders and the elbows. So just gently press shoulders and elbows down into the ground and just notice what fires, and then release everything. And if you can juggle both, you can play with pressing heels, pressing elbows and shoulders, and then releasing. And just notice if there's a sense of more support coming from the inside out. Try not to change the body too much, like don't let the spine overarch. We're just letting this be really subtle. The next time everything kicks, hold it for a moment. Make sure you can breathe. Make sure it's soft and sustainable while still being strong. And then reach the hands towards the heels, drag the heels in, and let the hips slowly float up. Set the spine down, make any adjustments with the feet, and then float the spine back up. And this time we're going to play with that same idea of melting one side of the body in this really even and effortless way, but in this back bend. So let the right hip start to melt towards the right hand. You don't want it to feel too intense, so let it be really soft and really even. Then draw a big rainbow with the pelvis up through center, and then let everything melt over to the left. Up through center, and then over to the right. And so just take a few of these arcs with the pelvis and just make sure it doesn't feel too intense. Just want it to feel really even and supported. The whole body compensates for that asymmetry. Finding balance in our imbalance. The next time the hips at center, pause and slowly set one vertebra down at a time. Float the legs up, give them a nice kick. And then your call, either grab behind the legs or reach the hands overhead as you take a few of those core rocks and play with lengthening the legs away from the body, so there's not so much hip flexion. If you're feeling strong, that can be kind of fun. You're literally the shape of the bottom of a rocking chair when you do that. The next time you come up, bend knees, soles of the feet down, and just let the body melt forward. And then Plant the right hand behind you, pivot the toes to the right, and slowly turn behind you so that you're in the cross-legged. Instead of table, let's just keep our knees hovering this time. Step the hands forward, one hand print, press into the hands to lengthen the hips up and back for a cross-legged down dog. And then let's play with one of those spinal waves. So push into the feet and start to round the spine forward into a puffy plank pose. And then drop the knees and just gently pull on the mat to open the heart, baby cow. And then press into the hands, send the hips up and back, lift the left leg, tuck the left knee into the chest, staying in down dog, and then step the left leg in front of the right foot. And then let's try that again. So push into the feet, slowly waving the spine forward into your puffy plank. Drop the knees, they're the alternate way now, and just gently pull on the mat to open the heart. And then push into the hands, send hips up and back, lift the right leg, pull the right knee into the chest, but then just drop the right shin down and walk the hands over to the left. So we're back in that same Parigasana. And because this is our second round, you might find yourself going a little deeper or getting a little smoother with the movement. So walk the hands ahead of you slightly, press the hips back towards the heels, letting the spine round, and then push down into the knee and the toes tucked under to round the spine forward and peek the heart through. And just take a couple more of these. Pay attention to that left leg. Let it be nice and soft so it doesn't feel too intense on the inner leg line. And the next time the hips float back to the heels, walk the hands in, bend the left knee, turn the left toes out, and then push down into the feet. Ride the wave all the way up into maybe a bigger back bend this time. And then side bend to the left, draw a big circle, and then float all the way up through center, letting the heart open. If you feel really supported here, option to reach the right, make sure the right toes are tucked under. You can reach the right hand towards the right heel and lift up through the left side of the body. Observe the breath, and if you can't breathe, then slowly come out of it. And then release the hands down, shift hips from side to side. Make sure they can really glide, right? That's the test for making sure they feel supported. The next time the weight shifts to the left, hop the right foot up and wide, preparing for that goddess pose. And feel free to walk the feet out a little bit or in. And then bring the hips to center. Push down into the legs to slowly and evenly rise up. Let everything get buoyant and free. And then we'll revisit Virabhadrasana 2. So right toes turn to the short edge of the mat, left heel out ever so slightly. And then just gently and evenly bend the right knee, letting everything soften while still feeling supported. Observe a breath cycle here. And then slowly extend the right leg and reach up through the right side of the body, like you're trying to reach up as high as possible, and let that whole right side really open. And then soften into the right knee, just like Virabhadrasana 2, and start to reach towards the short edge of the mat. Shift the weight into the right foot, power into the right foot, and let the left leg hover. Reach the right hand and left foot apart, getting as long and spacious as you can. And then slowly start to let the left leg drop, almost like you're a teeter-totter. As left leg comes down, the right arm floats up. And then let the left knee hover in front of you. And pause for just a moment. Release the arms down. And then extend the left leg. Drag the foot behind you so that you activate the muscles on the back of the left leg. Reach the arms back. Bend the left knee. Modified dancer pose. And lift and kick through the left leg so there's a sense of that left glute really working. And then allow the left leg to shoot back to Virabhadrasana 2. And we'll do that same sequence again. Nice. Yeah, you just landed there. It's like magic. So bend into the right knee. Take one moment in that stability, that evenness. And then extend right leg. Lift up through the right arm. Really lengthen and reach. If it's comfortable, it is okay to have a slight asymmetrical back bend here. So just give yourself that permission to open through the right side of the body. And then bend the right knee. Reach forward. Find a drishti. Shift the weight. Flying warrior. Reach right hand and left foot apart. And then slowly teeter-totter up to standing, letting that left knee kick through. Drop the hands. Take a moment in that equal balance. And then extend the left leg in front of you. Sweep the toes back so there's resistance against the mat. Bend the left knee behind you. Bend the right knee. And reach the hands back, opening the chest. Modified dancer pose. And really kick, kick, kick into that left leg. And then let it shoot the left foot behind you. Just pause for a moment in that magic Virabhadrasana 2 where the body just knows right where to go. And then very slowly push into the left toe. Pivot the hips to the right. Release the left hand nice and wide to the left side of the mat. Walk the right foot to the right. And then slide that left foot through the space. Nice, Robin. Extend the right leg. And if you need to slide back slightly on the mat, you can. Place the hands to either side of the legs. Keep the heels where they are, but bend the knees and let that bending really lift and open the body. And then let the knees fall out and kick into the legs to generate strength in the core. As you start to feel that strength, play with riding the wave back, as long as there's no tension when you do that. And worst case scenario, you just fall backward, and fall is kind of a dramatic way of putting it. And then eventually choose to support your way all the way down and try to feel that control of the core all the way down into the legs. And then just pause. Notice the effects of that faster, more fluid sequence. And we'll just repeat that one last time on the final side so that the body is perfectly balanced. And you've already gone through most of this sequence 3 times. And so give yourself permission, a little bit of artistic license, to play, to explore, to find your own approach. Have fun with it. I'm only offering suggestions. We'll start by pressing out through the balls of the feet, anchoring the heels down, bend the elbows, root down through shoulders and elbows, and just find that little extra awakening of the full body. Tuck the chin a little bit, letting the base of the neck lengthen. And then extend hands towards heels, drag the heels up. Slowly lift the spine, Sita Bandha Sarvangasana. You're welcome to hold here or take that asymmetrical deflating from side to side, letting the left hip lower towards the left hand and then reach up and over, right hip towards right hand. And just imagine that the whole body is accommodating this movement so you don't feel it at one single place. There's complete balance within the asymmetry. And once you're even, pause for a moment at the middle. And then slowly lower one vertebra at a time with that full awakened core. Hover feet up towards the sky. Give them a shake. And then either grab behind the legs or reach overhead and let the legs lengthen away from you, and take a few hollow body rocks. And the next time you rock up, bend the knees, soles the feet down, and just ride that wave into a gentle forward fold. And then push down into the feet, letting the whole body expand, bringing the spine to neutral. Left hand behind you, pivot the toes to the left, push down into the left hand, hovering the hips, and then turn the knees so you're facing the other way, hands down. Walk the hands forward, one hand print, and then push into the hands to send the hips up and back into our cross-legged down dog. Wag the tail, bend the knees. Make sure there's no tension in the back of the legs again in this asymmetrical movement. And then we'll play with those waves. So push into the feet, round the spine, and allow your body to slowly wave forward into a puffy plank. And then drop the knees, pull on the mat, and just gently open the front of the body. And then hover knees, push into the hands, hips up and back. Lift the right leg high into the sky, tuck it into the chest, staying in down dog, and then just slide it right in front of the left leg. And we'll repeat that process. So push into the feet, round forward, puffy plank, drop the knees, let the heart gently open. Hover knees, hips up and back. Moment in three-legged down dog, and then let the left leg just float effortlessly up to the sky. Tuck it into the chin, using the strength of your core, and then just slide it right in front of the left foot. And then, just kidding, bring the left leg into the chest, drop the knee down, and walk the hands over to the right. Let the right toes turn whatever direction's most comfortable for the knee, and walk the hands forward as you gently bow back. I like to tuck my left toes here, and then push down into the legs, rounding the spine forward, just like the wave we just did. Pull the heart through at the last moment, and take a few of these explorations, but really be mindful of that extended leg. The next time you release the hips back, bend the right knee, slide the right heel in until the right knee feels really supported, and then push down into the legs, slowly stacking everything, letting the head and neck come up last, and letting the fingertips flip upward, forming a huge bowl. And then side bend to the right, round forward, and then come all the way back up. And as is comfortable, let yourself explore this movement or any other that starts to naturally emerge from your inner awareness. The next time you float up into the back bend option, to reach the left hand up and back towards the left heel. And it's okay to turn slightly to the left so it's not as deep of a back bend. Just make sure the body likes this. Right hand can float up. And then push down into the legs, floating back up to neutral. Release the hands in front of you and just start to shift weight from right to left. And once the weight shifts into the right foot, hop the left foot up into the goddess squat and shift weight from side to side. This is our last time doing this, so if you would like to turn the toes out a little bit more, lower the hips a little bit, and play with like a crouching dragon, you're welcome to do that, or stay high, turn the toes forward, let the spine release in Prasarita Padottanasana. Take a moment to explore in a way that your body is asking for. And one more moment, if you've done something asymmetrical. We'll all meet at center. And push down into the feet to slowly rise all the way up into that nice buoyant straddle. Give yourself permission to adjust your feet and the length between them so there's no tension in the knees or the pelvis. And then turn the left toes to the short edge of the mat. Let the right heel drop out just a little bit. Just gently bend into the left knee. As you bend into the left knee, give yourself permission to change your stance here. So maybe you're noticing that you feel really supported and you want a little more space to bend into the left knee. You can let the left foot slide forward a little bit. Just make sure that you feel really even and balanced and not just like a certain muscle stretching. And then extend the left leg, reach the left arm up, and really open through that whole left side of the body, just like a volcano erupting. Push down into the legs and feel that upward ascension. And then soften the left knee, reach up and over to the left, shift the weight into the left foot, find a drishti, and then reach the right hand and the left hand and the right foot apart, hovering for a moment in flying warrior. And then teeter-totter, right leg down, left hand up, and then bend the right knee, release the arms, and pause for just a moment with the knee tucked up towards the chest. Extend the right leg, drag the right foot back, letting the whole back of the body engage. Bend the right knee, reach back, let the whole front body expand. And then kick, 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 let the right leg float magically back to Virabhadrasana 2, and just pause for a moment and deflate slightly so that this is almost like a resting pose, just this moment of homeostasis and perfect balance. And then we'll repeat that sequence. So push into the left leg, erupt through the whole left side of the body, reach the left arm up, feel the connection between the legs up through the core, up into the shoulders, the lifted hand, the head. And then soften in the left knee, reach up and over to the left, shift the weight, find your drishti, power into the left foot as the whole body floats in flying warrior. And then teeter-totter slowly, right knee into chest, hands down, and just find that ease and balance, softness. Extend the right leg, drag the right leg back, bend the right knee, reach the arms back and let the front of the body open. And then soften the left knee a little bit, kick, 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 let the right leg fly back. And let's just pause in Vira 2. Let your body sink into it and just notice if it feels different than the Vira 2 you're used to. Notice your breath. If the arms are tired, bring fingertips to shoulders. And then lift the right heel, press into the ball of the right foot, square the hips over to the left. Release the right hand nice and wide, walk the left foot over to the left, and slide right knee and then right foot through the space. And then extend the left leg to meet it and pause for just a moment. And just sit upright, observe the breath. And then we have our last exploration of our octopus Paschimottanasana, and I'm going to turn 3/4 just in case it helps you see better. So gently bend the knees, allowing the heels to drag, and try to notice how that helps the whole front of the body open. Let the knees fall out, kick into the legs, and notice how the body leans back. Bend the knees, and this time let the body release forward. Let the knees fall out to the side, and then kick into the legs to ride the wave back up. Knees bend, release forward, knees open, and then kick. And then see if you can start to smooth it out so you can really feel how the torso follows the legs. You don't even have to think about it. You can allow it. Just allow it. And if at any moment you feel called to pause, give yourself that permission. Feel free to allow the heels to come a little wider. And if you do pause, sometimes a gentle rocking from side to side can just help target all 3 hamstrings. So even in the pausing, I make you move. And keep breathing. And when you feel complete, no rush, can gently kick into the legs and ride that all the way up and back. And see if you can control your descent from all that core work. Hello, friend. And just pause for a moment on the back. And then gently drag the heels in for one last bridge pose. And take a moment to reach the shoulder blades down the back and push down into hands, shoulders, and feet to slowly hover the pelvis. And notice if there's any new sense of lightness and buoyancy. It doesn't matter how high you go. Just make sure it feels really supported and easeful. You're welcome to just hold here. You're welcome to take those side to side movements. And you're also welcome to interlace the hands and squeeze the arms together if you'd like a little more opening through the thoracic vertebrae, the upper spine. Just make sure that's okay on your neck. Make sure you can keep breathing. Bring a little extra awareness into the feet here and just pin the big toe mound down into the ground. And then just play with letting the knees widen a little as the big toe mound grounds, and just notice if there's a little extra support in the glutes and the IT band. Then release the arms, and as slow as you possibly can, try to set one vertebra at a time down with control. It might even feel like you're going beyond the floor. You're melting deeper than the floor. Let the feet walk the width of the mat, and then just gently windshield wiper the knees, noticing how they connect into the low back and the spine, and cause a really gentle twisting through the spine. If you'd like to gaze opposite the knees, you're welcome to. And then feel free to pause. Just make sure it's okay with the knees. If you're pausing, sometimes it's nice to reach the arms overhead and then go the other way. And then point the knees and the nose up to center and slowly lift the legs, and ever so gently let the legs shake. See if you can even notice the muscles just gently. I wish I had a better word than jiggle, but you know, just letting that relaxation, that good old relaxation happen. And because we're going to meditate before Shavasana, you're welcome to grab behind the legs and rock up. Take your time. We've practiced that transition a lot, so you can have fun with it. If you are still listening to music, now is a good time to pause. Hi, Jennifer's friend. Thanks for doing yoga with us. If you've got a blanket or a cushion, you're more than welcome to grab it. We'll be here for several minutes. And even though we really focused on hip stability more than hip opening, just notice your meditation seat, and if there is a sense of buoyancy and ease through the hip sockets, through the groin, the thighs, the knees. maybe even a lightness in the spine. You can close the eyes and really gently smile. And as you gently smile, notice the effect that that has on your inner state. It's like an inner buoyancy. And continue to breathe naturally, but let the breath illuminate that inner buoyancy, that sweetness that emerges with the slight smile. And for our meditation today, we'll continue to follow the breath. We'll direct it into the heart space as we work with the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. Allow the breath to continue to be fluid and free. And just allow it to pool in the heart. As you repeat the mantra, imagine the mantra pooling in the heart with the breath. Om Namah Shivaya. And then as you exhale, try to keep your awareness at the heart center. Continue to repeat the mantra and see if you can still feel expansive even as the body softens and shrinks slightly. And just repeat this process on your own. Inhaling to draw in the nectar of the breath and the mantra, letting it fill the heart and expand your being. And then exhale so slowly that you can keep all of that expansion, all of that openness. And continue to repeat the mantra, just letting it fill in all of the cracks, seeping in like rain, seeping into dry earth. And when you found the natural rhythm of your breath and the mantra, see if you can relax just a little bit more. Finding that natural, even, holistic support just like we did in our yoga postures. You're welcome to stay upright for as long as this practice serves you. And whenever you're ready to recline in Shavasana, that's on the table too. And just choose what would nourish you the most for the remainder of our class. You're welcome to rest and restore for as long as your body and your schedule allow and require. Thank you so much for sharing this practice this evening. So great to see you. Octavia, I think Abigail should have to wear a tutu like 100% of the time. That's amazing. And as always, if anybody has any questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, see you all soon. Hi, Abigail. Hi. Hi. I like your tutu. Hi. I'm so excited to see you walking. Good job. That's early, man. Hi. Hi. Oh, what a sweetheart. Bye, Robin. Sorry. The babies, they always win all of the attention.